Hi, hello, happy Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom. Well, unfortunately, due to my neglect, a couple of my little spudlets here seem to have dried up and died on me. 2 of them. So out of the 12 I had, I've got only 10 now. The ones that are still alive seem to be doing fair enough, I suppose. I still, of course, naturally need to plant them. They won't live here forever like this. They'll die at some point. But yeah, unfortunately that one made a little teeny tiny spudlet before it keeled over. Oh well. Leave that one in there for its own next generation. Other than that, everything else seems to have survived my infrequent watering well enough. This thing over here is every bit 5 or 6 foot long in the main vine, plus several feet of side vine. So it's growing nice and spindly here in the greenhouse. Whether it produces any fruit, we will not know until later. Of course, the wandering Jew is still flowering. It seems to be. You just keep it watered, and in all the warm weather, it'll always keep flowering a little bit. Of course, the spider plants are flowering too. This thing is still needing to be put out somewhere. I just don't know where, since it's the only one I've got, and I don't want the critters to devour it before I get a chance to cultivate it. This thing has decided to put a new branch on it up here, and so that's kind of interesting. It turned over on its side and then threw up a new branch. I think this one, no, maybe that was actually the oh, that's that vine. No, maybe it did put on a new branch. Let's get over here and see. Yeah, it's putting on a new branch too. Cool. 2 new branches. Alright. So it's got 2 new branches, maybe more. And then that vine's trying to grow down it. It's a climbing vine. That's why that right there could turn into a root, or it could turn into a strangler that anchors to other things. It's how you train those particular vines. I forget what they're called, but that's how you train them up on things, is they'll grow around and anchor to objects. This one seems to be doing pretty well. It's put on about 2 feet of vine in separate vines. It's growing pretty abundantly. I have a mushroom up here. It popped up the other day. I don't know if it's edible or not, but I'm not going to pick it, because until I know if it's edible or not, I don't know if I want to propagate it or just ignore it. Because if it's an edible mushroom, then maybe I'll propagate it. I don't know what kind it is. Never seen it before. It started off with a nice fuzzy little brown top, and then it shot up and became all wrinkly and clear. So whatever it is, it's changed as it grown just a little bit as far as it looks. I don't know if it's edible or not. This little plant here seems to be doing pretty good. One of these days they'll probably try to propagate it as a baby plant into another pot or 3. My spindly pears are still growing like weeds. Everything in here for the most part is still growing, except, like I say, those 2 spudlets that died of dehydration, which was because I failed to keep them watered. Altogether, everything else in here is, for the most part, doing pretty well. Some of the African violets haven't fared too well, but most of them are doing pretty good. Different ones are doing different things. That's it. It's a hyacinth, pink hyacinth that Mom got. It's finally going dormant. It started flowering about the same time as the wild hyacinths outside, and it stayed green. The others have already done their thing and shrunk back into the ground for the year, gone dormant. So that's all the plants in here. Now, the things outside, various types. I have been working over here on the stairs problem, and I had to tear that much of it out several hundred pounds of stuff had to be removed so that I could put several hundred pounds more in, because otherwise it wasn't going to fit. I didn't want to take out any more than I had to, but I had to take all that out so that I could get a 24-inch stair in there. So, Yahweh willing, before I'm done, it'll be all in here. And it comes all the way out here to about where the foot of that chair is, as far as its length. And that's about 16 feet roughly, give or take. The reason that hole's there is because some of the wood was buried under there and had to be dug out, because it was holding it down in a way that I couldn't otherwise access it. And the reason I had to dig that out, if you look how that is in line with that, the wall leaning over here has made it really difficult, because it's all changing geometry. From this used to all be in by at least that much, and it's now not. So by that going in, and everything else as it fell has kind of made this mess worse and harder. Over here we have some of the wood that came from their stairs. Want it? Did you want it? Did you want it? How you doing? Oh baby. Want it? Yes. And then the mama here. Yes. Chestnut. Did you want it? Did you want it? Here's a baby. Did you want it? That one over there is kind of wild, and she seems to like to get herself stuck in the hay crib, get unstuck and restuck and unstuck. So I'm going to let her figure that out on her own. Cashew's a little bit wild. Walnut's total baby. Yes, you sound so helpless. She does. She sounds really helpless. She doesn't sound pathetic. She just sounds like that stinking groundhog. I don't know if I can get it. It's out of sight. I don't know what it's coming up here in the middle of this bare field to eat. Unless it's digging around in the manure for insects or something. There was a dead groundhog over here the other day. I don't want to necessarily film the rotten bones of it and stuff, but because it's pretty already decayed. But we'll just, that would be all we'll say about that. So let's go back around the top. We'll start at the top where the other wood and scrap is, to help you get an idea how much wood and scrap there was, and then we'll come back this way and discuss the garden plants more. So we'll be crossing the same area twice, but that way, since I can't go up the stairs, it'll kind of keep me on my normal, shall we say, circuit, if you will. So then it just helped me keep my mental context together. So over here, here's more of those rotten steps and things I pulled out. And there's more of them right there. And then finally, there's this chunk here that I had to pull out. And that was wet, soaking wet, very heavy clunk of wood. Very bothersome. So all that came from over here. And then I've got my, oh, there's a kitty again. See if we can say hi to the kitty before it bolts. Doesn't have a name. At least none that it answers to. I guess we call it Sparkles or something like that. We don't know if it's a boy or girl. It seems to have taken up residence here. So anyhow, those two boards are back up over there because I've got to mark them again and get them ready. I've notched them and got them pretty close to where they need to be mounted in place once the ledgers are all bolted, screwed onto them. And to get them down, lowered down and put all the steps. I got the steps on top of the freezer so I'd have nowhere else, have freedom to move around. And that's quite a bit. If you look at that as a solid block of wood, that's why this thing is pretty heavy. But oddly enough, I don't know that it's going to be as much weight as what I dragged out. It would be very close, but it might be heavier, or it might be lighter, I mean. Now this mystery plant is still theoretically producing seeds, although it's finished flowering. it seems that it is still in the process of developing seed pods, so it's taking a while to get itself a new generation. Speaking of seeds, the lentils were total bust. They completely failed to make anything but leaves, and then they shriveled up. So, not very pleased with the outcome of that. The mints over here, whatever kind of wild mint they are busy flowering and doing well. This thing has proceeded to continue to flower and continue to rot. So it's still making no fruit. Despite having a better chance this year than in past years, it has decided that it does not want to make fruit. Just wanted to make the flowers. I could relate that to something, but due to the touchy subject, I'll skip on that. Over here, that first cauliflower, looking pretty rough, but it's still growing slowly, so hopefully it'll make some seeds. This one has finally determined that it is a cauliflower, and it's growing a little better. Now you'll notice some of the leaves look kind of singed. That's my fault. I sprinkled a bunch of fertilizer on here the other day, then didn't wash the leaves off, and so amongst the fertilizer was some iron sulfate. The iron sulfate effectively stuck to the leaves, and they're actually not looking as bad today as they did yesterday as far as being wilted and droopy. But you can see some of them are darker and faded and stuff where they've been kind of burned by the iron sulfate reacting with them and generating sulfuric acid in the leaf surface. So that was a bad move on my part to not wash it right off into the soil where it needs to be, or just put it in the soil in the first place. The cucumber vines, well, they're alive. I'll just say it that way. And some of them got burnt by the iron sulfate too. But there are a few vines that are in here that are alive. They're still growing, so hopefully we'll get some cucumbers from them before long. Of course, the goats are trying to get through the fence to get the goodies, and well, more power to them. Rather, they didn't eat my, let me get this over here a second, if I can. And then it's had to stay hooked on there, and it'll just grow back across. I'd rather they not eat the tiger lilies. They had a rough year last year from the 2 male goats being out and tearing them up, so they're not doing well. All this is, again, it's Russian Lespedeza, and it will put on a lot of pink flowers. Tender pink flowers, about the size of the little flowers that you saw on the spider plants. Only in theory, these are a part of the legume family. That's the way I'm brought to understand it from reading on it. Oh, tore up somebody's spider web. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was a spider's nest for raising its babies. I left it alone. Oh well. Now over here, it's not visible yet anyhow, but I planted 4 spuds that were clustered, sprouted, that I had over on top of the Ford truck hood, and hopefully in a few weeks they'll pop up and do well. Hopefully. If they can come up out of here, and if the goats don't get over the fence to them, we shall see. Now that we're done with the stairwell stuff, let's go over real quick here and look at, see how that gentian's been doing this year, if the deer have eaten its top off or not. Even though it's perennial and it's a tough plant, it's not indestructible, unfortunately, so I never know when it's going to give up the ghost from all this harassment and hassle that it's endured from deer and from goats. Hopefully it'll survive and flower, and we can propagate it and get a lot more of them. Well, there are a couple of vines left. Yeah, 3 of them. It's the same as there was before. That's good, as long as they're there. hopefully it'll put on flowers and make more. Whatever happened to the rest of them around here, I'll not know unless they come back later. Because I think this might be one also. That might be a gentian that's in here, and this and that. Hopefully. They say the seeds can be pretty much invisible. So, if so, well, then they'll be invisible. I don't know what plant that is. It looks like it's the same flower as a larkspur, but it's got different leaves. Either that or I've always misidentified the leaves of a larkspur. I'm not going to climb up there to it. My neighbors have put something down there to... guess that's supposed to be a razorback or something like that. I'm guessing that's what it is. I'm not going to go down there and look. Yes. Oh, the grapevine over the, over the greenhouse and the milk room tends to do pretty good on grapes, and it's covered in flowers, so hopefully it'll produce a lot. So up here has been struggling very much, so I don't know if it's going to do very well or not. It's gotten pretty beat up between the mowing company and everybody else, so the only thing I can say good about the fact that it's where it's at, it's growing down closer to the ground where it's easier to pick. I like it to stay close to the ground, even though that's not in its nature. It did make some fruit, I just didn't get up in the tree and pick all of it. It's harder to pick them up high because you gotta get on a ladder, and I'm fat as a tub of lard, so it's pretty hard for me. Alright, another flower on watermelons. Yeah, of course I just sprinkled phosphorus on them yesterday too. So that watermelon's got a bloom. I think that one's already put on one flower once already. It does look different, I'm hoping, because I jostled a lot of this around and tried to get things in a better situation. Save some of the dying tomato plants that were pretty spindly, and then just generally get everything in a better situation before they have to be repotted so that they're stronger. Because it's better to repot them when they're stronger than when they're weaker. So that's kind of my approach to that. Now going over here to the potato plants, they have survived, is all I can say so far. I put mulch on them, and well, yeah, some of their leaves also got burnt from the iron sulfate powder. For the most part, they're just hanging on, I think, at this point. I'm not for sure if they're going to put on much more potato, let alone much more growth of any kind. I'm just letting them live out the rest of their life, hopefully without any further destruction from deer. I'm pretty sure it was a deer because they got destroyed even after I got my goat put away. And I'd figure if it was something small enough to get under the wire, it would have kept destroying them. That's my reasoning on it. This purple tomato plant had only put on so far the one fruit, and then again the squirrels, or a squirrel, I can't get to it very easily, really tore into it. It's already trying to ripen at one point, but for the most part, I can say if nothing else, that one will go to seed, possibly. Strawberry plants, the two that have survived, or possibly three, have just a little bit of fruit going on. And then the sage, of course, is looking pretty happy overall, growing like a weed practically. So hopefully we can propagate a bunch of sage. Over here to the bigger tomatoes, they got a little burn from the iron sulfate, as well as some scars from various varmints eating on them. But I think that tomato's about to turn ripe. I think the injured ones ripen faster. I don't know if that's an instinctive thing about them. You see a lot of brown leaf here. That's from the iron sulfate burning them. My fault. And they needed the iron, but they didn't need it the way they got it, I'm pretty sure. I still need to bury up their bases once they get higher up out of the container. so they'll have more root on them. Then we have these things. Ooh, that one looks like it got quite a bit of damage from the... Oh yeah, it's falling apart on me. Bummer. Pretty damaged. That one looks really damaged too. I think that was from the iron sulfate. I'm not for sure. They're trying to set fruits, but it seems like they're also casting fruits. I'm not for sure. If they are, it's my own fault, I'm sure of that. But they've been flowering. They've been putting on lots of flowers, but I thought the other day I had more fruit set than this already, and apparently I don't. And because of that, I don't know if I might have caused more harm than good by this last round of fertilizer. However, if nothing else, they'll grow larger, and then when they finally do set fruit, hopefully they'll have a good strong base about them, and then I can mound them up too. Now theoretically they're perennials, and hypothetically then what can happen is over time is that they'll grow multiple years and get bigger and stronger every year. And there's 8 of them now. If I can separate them all in separate baskets, they'll have a lot more room to grow and do better than they're doing now. And again, yes, they're all in very shallow soil, because I was limited on how much soil I had available at the time to do that with. And also, I had to put some of the soil over here for the squash, and now hopefully some watermelon too. So a lot of the seedlings from the first round that looked so pretty died. In fact, I think all but one of them died. The one that didn't die is seemingly doing pretty good compared to everything else. So this one here was the only real survivor, technically, of that whole first batch of transplants over here. The others were even damaged during the transplanting. Now I've also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new seeds germinating that I put over here. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seeds here that are watermelons that seem to be making it. This thing looks good until you realize that it's not really all that good. I don't even think it'd be possible to rescue it at this point. I'll sprinkle some soil on that stem just in case it decides to live. It probably won't, but at least I'm giving it a fair chance. So hopefully before long we'll have some squash and watermelons. And again, they'll have to be brought out here little at a time with extra soil to make up the difference, so that they've got more room to root and grow. And then other plants will probably be added to them. Not sure which ones, but possibly. The apples are, well, apples. What can I say? They're all bug bitten, stung, what do we call it, when the fruit wasp lays its egg in it. And there are a few of them up there, not a lot. Of course, the groundhogs will probably get them before we do. Sadly, that seems to be the trend. Over here, as I swing myself across through here, pretty much all the spring flowers are over with. So we've, of course, a couple of the extra durable verbena here and there. They're incredible in how long they'll bloom. They won't necessarily bloom a crazy amount, but they'll just bloom most of the year if the environment is friendly to them. We've got some fleabane daisies. We got, of course, Queen Anne's lace. We've got white wild alfalfa, and we got some Mexican sparrow, also known as yellow coneflower. And then we got, and of course, more of all those flowers, and then in amongst them, a lot more yellow coneflowers coming up. The deer come along and eat a lot of the flowers. Of course, a couple of black-eyed Susans here and there. Echinacea have pretty much done their thing for the year. They bloomed, pollinated, and went to seed real fast. And then these little purple stemmed flowers, whatever they're called, pretty much did their thing already really fast. So they're almost completely done. Plus the deer went and bit some of them off. I don't know what this plant is, but it's making flowers, so good deal. And then there's quite a few wild petunias over here in a cluster. And more over here. So it's mostly just yellow coneflowers, that particular sunflower up going really strong right now. There's some golden alfalfa. And the white alfalfa. Oh yeah, there are a lot of bee balm plants out here. I'm not at a good angle to show them from here. Let me move over here just a little ways. See if we can find a few other flowers that are not as immediately obvious from those angles. And you know, there's some bee balm right there. Looking pretty good. It's almost done flowering. I need to pick it pretty soon if I'm going to make a tincture out of it. I don't believe the gladiolas have made up their mind to bloom this year or not. Don't see any clear evidence of any of them. It's the biggest ones. Newest too. There's a little spot of those black-eyed Susans going on pretty good. One thing about it, those in there are protected, unlike some of these, but that I think is black oil sunflower. Could be wrong. There are a few of those around here now. But anything in there, the deer don't seem to have had enough motivation to go in that open gate very far and eat it all down yet. Give them time, they probably will. I see a few stray poppies, not a lot. I could go up to the road and show more flowers. I feel really lazy, but there's a nice little shot of poppies over here that I don't remember seeing before. Might as well get those. I'm pretty sure the deer have been in here, just because it looks like something's trampled the area down a little bit. Let me get over here and hopefully not scratch myself up real good. There's some more bee balm. And there we go. There's a bunch of poppies. It's probably the biggest cluster of poppies anywhere on our property so far. A whole bunch of them. That flower plant is doing very well for itself. I've never seen a plant that tall or have that many blooms on it, so yay for it. There's a couple over there too. If we very carefully inch our way through this scratchy pasture area, a couple more poppies there. Here and there a few, and petunias. Here and there a few. This is really thin, shallow soil, so you can't expect a lot to be growing on it. Well, some of these bee balm are just looking pretty radiant. They make a really nice, pretty picture. They're already a little wilty, but they still look pretty good for being wilty. Good and wilty. Anyhow, and then I don't know what these are called, but well, there's a few of them in this field, and they seem to be doing pretty good for themselves. And then getting up in here, here's the bee balm balming the bees. Yeah, that's quite a nice little bunch of them. And the bees are still getting good use out of them, or good juice out of them, how you want to say it. Sounds the same either way. And there's some more over there. And then there's all these sunflowers popping up all over the place here, wherever they're from. So I wish they were those sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes, because I'd love to have a big batch of those growing. But I don't know if they are or not. I don't even know if I've ever tried to pull one up by its roots. And if I do, it'll probably be late in the year, because I'd want it to be productive. And it'd be my best chance of finding out. Again, more bee balm up there. So, a few flowers in amongst the weeds. Of course, then again, the weeds are flowering too, so it all depends on whether you consider a weed a flower or a flower a weed. You know, just one of them deals. I like all flowers, generally speaking, except maybe poison ivy. This is a little vine. It's part of the pea family. I think it's like a beggar lice. It makes sticky little things that stick to your pants. But it's a pea, and it's a legume, so it's enriching the soil, even if it's ruining one's clothing. It doesn't really ruin clothing, it's just annoying to have to pick them all off at the end of the day. Some more poppies, some more bee balm, and more sunflowers. And I don't get up here very much, partly because I'm either busy, tired, or not in the mood to get scratched up. Any of the above. But it's nice to get in there now and then and look them over. I haven't been downstairs in a few days, but when I was, I could see that the elderberry still is in bloom. Hasn't really set any fruit yet. So hopefully though it'll put a lot of fruit on. One thing I did this week is I got us a new kitchen stove. It was no warranty, $75 at the thrift store. I put the sheet metal over to keep rain out of the digital circuits. It's a Frigidaire of some model or another. Got some digitally parts up at the top. Well, I'm not a big fan of digital stuff. Well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, as long as the fire list gets lit, as long as all the hot parts get hot the right way, I'll be fine with that. If the little numbers and the clocks and all that stuff work, well, yay, good deal. They'll flicker out every time the power goes out anyhow, so you have to reset them. Just one more clock to reset. And we've got a lot of them. I don't think there's anything over here to comment on, off the top of my head. And I really haven't done any work inside the shop this week. So I'm going to say that's it. Oh, there were those roses. I don't know if I got a picture of those roses last week or not. Might as well at least finish off with some bright roses since they're here and they're pretty. Yeah. They're doing pretty good. They're about done, but they've done pretty good. I can't look down there real easy and see too much in the way of downstairs flowers to point at. There's probably some poppies hiding in there, but they're probably, and then I think I saw some Indian paintbrush down there the other day too. Not a lot. So I don't figure it's worth going down there and slogging around in the wet and disgusting moisture that's going to be on my feet. Huh, what's that? Oh, we've already got dewberries. Oh, look at there. I've picked those. We ain't had dewberries here in forever, of any size. That's neat. That is the first dewberries to make fruit on this property that I'm aware of in 10 or more years out of the 16 that I've been back. And so they're not super huge, but they're here. That's pretty surprising because I thought they'd just given up on setting fruit altogether. Like, nope, not gonna do that no more kind of deal. And while there were other dewberries over here, I don't think I'm gonna go traipsing around in there to see if they've got fruit. These were just kind of handy to run across. The blackberries will produce some fruit this year. Maybe not a lot, but some. And I see we have dogwood tree. And I don't know how I never saw it before, but it is there. And although the deer are eating it, we had another dogwood here a while ago, but it was in the middle of the road. Kind of got knocked down by road development. But that one, I'll try to preserve it and possibly even relocate it somewhere prettier, like into my park or something. I'll just have to be careful how I do it so I don't kill it in the transplanting process. And yeah, okay, I'm going to say then that's all that I could think of. The Rose of Sharon has not begun flowering yet. Huh. Trumpet, no, okay, that wasn't a trumpet flower. It was just a red leaf. I didn't know that the trumpet flower had bloomed. Yes, it has. I don't think I can get it on the camera, though. Oh, there you go. One lone. Oh, I see another one over there, but I'm going to sit there and try to track them all down. There's a couple trumpet flowers on there. Just a couple. They're really high up, hard to see. That thing makes a couple flowers every year. Not very many, just enough to make seeds so that its children grow up and swarm everything. A lot of these little vines you see up growing on everything are trumpet vines. And they'll just grow all over everything and then not make any flowers. Yeah, what do you do? Can't make them make flowers. Oh, there's a lily over here that the deer haven't bit off this week. Neat. See if we can't get that lily in full bloom before the deer eat it. There we go. A really nice picture. Yeah. And there's another lily. They seem to not hardly get away from the deer eating them. It was kind of surprising to see them. If you look over here, of course, other than the lilies, everything else is already flowered and gone to seed or just gone to common growth or whatever for the year. You know, it looks like something dug the tulip out of the ground. Wasn't doing much anyhow. Either that or just happened to be in the unlucky spot where something was digging for grubs. Oh well, it wasn't doing anything really in life. And then the hazelnuts are still alive barely, despite getting eaten like they were by the goats. Yeah, it's Wayne job. So I'm gonna call it here, and hope y'all have a blessed, enjoyable, productive week ahead, and have the rest of your Sabbath happy and blessed. So shalom for now, and bye. See you later.